let's talk about the DNS or the domain name system. So, what is DNS? Maybe you've come across this term and you've never really known what it really means. So, DNS stands for what we call the domain name system, which is a system that helps you find websites on the internet by using easy to remember names instead of numbers. So, it's more of a phone book for the internet. So, before you would want to visit a website, let's say brightconsulting.com or siloma.co.ke, and you would have to punch in uh, the IP address of that website. So you had to cram these IP addresses so that you can be able to visit the websites. And then that's when the DNS came in, and it's more of a phone book where if you want to access this website, because a computer does not know the name of the website, we have this system called the DNS, which is a phone book that says this website, its IP address is this. It's just like your phone, because you can't cram all the numbers, but you know how you've saved your people in your contacts. When you go dial a phone number, there is a contact system that tells the phone uh, this name is matched to this IP address. What is DNS still? So, as I said, every device on the internet has an IP address, which is a numerical identifier, which is used to locate and communicate with the device. So, what happens is that DNS is a very critical component of the internet infrastructure, and used in a very wide range of applications, from email, online gaming, web browsing. So, without DNS, you would typically need to memorize every IP address for everything you want to access. So let's talk about the DNS zone. So the DNS zone is a collection of DNS records, RRs, that describe the properties of a domain name and how it should be resolved. So here are key elements of the DNS zone. So we have what we call an A record, which maps a domain name to an IP version 4 address or an IP address, which used to translate a domain name to an IP address that can be used to establish a connection with the corresponding web server. We have something called a name server record, which specifies the authoritative name servers for the domain. These are the servers that are responsible for providing answers to DNS queries for the domain. Now, name servers are very important. When you buy a domain, let's say from your registrar, and your hosting is on another service provider, what you will do, you will put your hosting provider's name server records on your registrar's domain name so that you can be able to access that website. So that is resolved in the DNS. So in short, when you punch this URL on a browser, it tells your browser this domain is hosted elsewhere and these are the name server records. So go to that hosting. So we have the CNAME or the canonical name, which maps an alias or a subdomain name to the canonical or primary domain name. It's used to create aliases or subdomains that point to the same IP address as the primary domain. You've seen this, let's say if you try to set up a Shopify shop or other external services, let's say mailing systems like Brevo, they will give you a CNAME to use, a canonical name, which maps and tells, or even Zoho, it tells your browser, you're visiting that name, this website is mapped on this other alias name in Zoho servers. So that's what a CNAME is basically. So we have what we call a NameX record or a mail exchanger record, which specifies the mail server that are responsible for accepting incoming email messages for the domain. E.g., if my emails are hosted on Google, Google will give me what we call MX records. Right now, they're just providing one, which is SMTP gmail.com. Yes. Is it that? No, I don't. I can't remember. So uh, this now will tell your browser or whichever application wants to connect to your emails that this um, mail exchanger is the emails for this domain are hosted on Google. So we have what we call a TXT record or a text record, which allows arbitrary text to be associated with a domain name. So it's used to, with things like SPF, which is the Sender Policy Framework, DKIM, DMARCs, such things. So go research about what SPF is, what a DKIM is, whenever you want to interact with them. So there's something called a TTL. A TTL is the time to leave, which is crucial setting in the domain name system that determines how long DNS translates the domain name. E.g., it allows you to set a time, which is measured in seconds, to tell the DNS servers how long they can store this translation in their cache before checking for updates. I know we're getting a bit complex, but don't worry, we will get there when we do these things practically. So a TTL of 3600 seconds is 1 hour. It means that the record will be cached for an hour before being refreshed. Okay, and this is what affects what we call propagation. If you buy a domain name now, and let's say your name chip is on another supplier, okay, it will take some time before that domain name reflects or points to your hosting if it's done externally. That window period is what we call propagation. Okay, and TTL, the time to leave, affects uh, that propagation. So although TTL ensures that DNS records such as updates to an IP address propagate more quickly because servers refresh the data more frequently. This is useful during migrations or troubleshooting. However, it can increase the load on DNS server and slow down initial requests. On the other hand, a higher TTL reduces server load and speeds up DNS lookups since cached data is reused longer but changes take more time to propagate. So that's what basically DNSs are all about.